Today, I want to talk about three big misconceptions about the Innovator Founder Visa. These misconceptions are a result of either lack of full knowledge about this visa pathway or individuals or entities in the immigration sector exaggerating things, not referring to some of the key details about this, and trying to sell you a dream. And this is not what I do. What I try to do is to provide honest feedback and content, whether in my channel or whether when I work with clients. So let's get into it. Now, as always, what I like to do is to start with a brief introduction about me in case you don't know about me or this is your first time in my channel. I'm a business consultant and I focus specifically on startup founders considering business immigration with the UK Innovator Founder Visa and generally the UK being one of my focus areas. I moved to the UK when I was 17 on a student visa. I obtained a master's degree in law at Newcastle University when I was 22 years old. And afterwards, I switched into the Tier 1 graduate entrepreneur visa, and I had 2 endorsements from Newcastle University. Afterwards, I switched into the Tier 1 entrepreneur visa, a visa pathway that's no longer in place. And through that, I scaled a property technology platform to over 30 UK cities. I also had been accepted into the NatWest Entrepreneur Accelerator, which was a former / legacy endorsing body for the former Innovator Visa, which was pretty much the previous version of the Innovator Founder Visa. Anyways, I created jobs for 13 people in total, and we almost closed the funding round for my startup. But unfortunately, just as we were about to do that, the COVID-19 pandemic happened. So, which meant I had to force the startup down. So food for thought that no matter how well you do, things can and probably will go wrong. Anyways, not to go too much into that, but the end result was I ultimately obtained indefinite leave to remain and British citizenship. And afterwards, I switched into business consulting, helping founders because I've not only been in this immigration journey as an entrepreneur, but I've also scaled a technology startup and I've been in the startup system for over a decade. So that's me. Now let's get into the misconceptions about the Innovator Founder Visa. Misconception number 1. You do not need investment funds of £50,000 or more anymore for this visa. Yes, theoretically you don't need that 50K benchmark anymore, okay? The guidelines don't specifically say that you need investment funds, but you're wrong to assume that you do not need any money for this visa, because you do. And I'm not talking about the application fee or the NHS fee or other fees that you will incur in the process. I'm talking about money that you actually have to invest in the startup, okay? While there is no official funding requirement anymore in place, in order to launch and grow and scale your startup, you will need some initial capital to do so, okay? And to be very honest, the range of businesses that the endorsing bodies expect to see, they will require some considerable amount of funds. Now, I can't give you a specific figure. That really does depend on your business. But let's say it could be product development, especially in the technology field, or marketing costs, compliance costs. As I said, it really is subjective and dependent on your specific concept, but you will need some initial capital to get this project off the ground. And that initial capital is expected to be seen by the endorsing bodies when you apply, and it needs to be liquid cash. Okay, not some property that you will sell in 6 months or some gold that you have hidden in your basement or something like that. And obviously the funding source needs to be legitimate. Doesn't necessarily have to be your own money. It could be money from a third party. So could be friends and family, could be a venture capital investment, could be angel investment. I've worked with founders who had, let's say, in the millions in that funding range from venture capital funding. So obviously that will satisfy the criteria, as long as you can prove that the money is available to you through a declaration from the third party who is making the funds available to you. So please don't assume that you do not need any investment money for this, because you do. Misconception number 2 is that this is a great visa pathway to settle in the UK in 3 years' time. Yes, you can apply to settle in the UK subject to meeting the settlement criteria, but don't make this mistake of thinking that this is an immigration pathway for settlement and British citizenship, because it really isn't. Okay, this visa route is for genuine entrepreneurs who actually have a commercial reason for wanting to obtain this visa. Okay, so yeah, it could be 3 years. In contrast to other visa pathways like the skilled worker visa, which is in 5 years, although they may increase that to 10 years, we're yet to see what those legislations will turn out to be later on. But the key point is that in those 3 years, you have to achieve considerable milestones to qualify for settlement. Okay, and this is the entrepreneurship world. And if you are an entrepreneur, you will know this already, but it's okay if you're an amateur in this and this is your first time launching a project. So this is probably for you, that entrepreneurship is unpredictable. Things can and will go wrong. Learn from my lesson, okay? Even though I did qualify for settlement and British citizenship, my startup, everything was done correctly, okay? We created the jobs, we scaled, we were about to close a funding round close to $500,000. We were about to do all of that. And I generally am a person who does anticipate and try to plan for every sort of adverse scenario. But at that time, one thing I didn't account for was a global pandemic and lockdown. And that pretty much forced my business into closure. So, food for thought, that it could be unpredictable. Your startup could tick all the boxes, but if something adverse happens in 3 years' time, your settlement could be at risk. Okay, it's not that you will get this visa and you will score two of those points for settlement and the settlement is guaranteed. It really isn't. And I'm telling you this so that you know what you're signing up for and you don't go and waste 3 years of your time and your money and then not qualify for settlement. So please, please keep that in mind. And lastly, another point, which is not really a misconception, but unfortunately the guidelines aren't very clear, and we actually had to confirm this recently ourselves. And that is that your business cannot be trading when you apply for endorsement, because that's what the guidelines say, that a business cannot be trading. However, this is not strictly true. Okay, let's say if you're already in the UK, most likely on a graduate visa, because a lot of international students who are on the post-study work permit consider this visa pathway, or any other visa pathway. As long as you have founded the company and you made a major contribution, so most of the venture and its innovation and operations was done by you, and when the company was incorporated, you were listed as a director of the company, you will most likely qualify. So that won't actually be an issue with regard to endorsement. But you have to bear in mind that the spirit of the guideline is that if a business already exists and then you join the business through whatever means, then you won't qualify. Okay, this needs to be your project. You have to have come up with the concept, with the plan, with the innovation of the business. So I hope that makes sense. As I always say, entrepreneurship is probably one of the most complex things in the world. And when you have to become an entrepreneur under visa guidelines, it just gets even more confusing. With that in mind, and as someone who has worked with over 100 clients and has been through this journey himself, what I offer founders a number of services in this regard. And the most popular one by far, with the Innovator Founder Visa at least, is either on idea assessment or on business plans, whether it's reviewing or writing, even though I don't really take many writing projects due to logistical reasons. But the primary thing that I offer, which is the first step of any service and enrollment in any service, is an evaluation session. So you book a direct call with me, and I will assess your idea against the endorsement guidelines and give you feedback on its prospects for endorsement and whether you have a chance. And this way, you're a lot more clearer in terms of what to expect before you go and commit to the endorsement fee and 3 years of your life, whether you get the endorsement or not. So that's pretty much it. And if there is any applicable feedback which I can think of in regards to your business, again, there is no general feedback that I can share with you in this video. It really does depend on what your venture is. But that is something that I offer. And if you want to find out more, please refer to my website. I hope that helps, and I'll see you soon.